निशान साथ है इतने के कुछ शुमार नहीं हमारे दीन का क़िस्सों पे मदार नहीं।
You know, naturally, when everything is going good in your life, you become complacent. With anything, when you know everything's going smoothly, everything's going fine, you tend to become a bit complacent. So I felt and I've experienced that this was what happened with me when my wife was pregnant. When we found out she was expecting, we wrote to Azul, we had asked for prayers, asked for a name. I mean, we're praying all the prayers. It's not like we miss prayers. But at the same time, when your faith becomes low, you go through trials. Allah puts those trials in your life so that He can bring you back to Him. So a similar situation happened to me where I felt that the biggest trial I could ever imagine was placed on me. And that happened on the 18th of December 2017 when my son was born. So I remember in the morning around 10 o'clock we took her to the hospital and the doctors checked everything, did a scan, everything was fine, smooth, no complications, no problems. They said go home. We said we want to stay, it's our first time, and we're obviously worried that something could happen, and they said no, don't worry, everything will be fine. So we went home and this was near Zohar time, so I had left for namaz.
तो उस वक़्त सिचुएशन ऐसी थी कि वापस हॉस्पिटल से आ गए थे और ये नमाज पे गए हैं, तारीख नमाज पे चला गया, ये भी घर नहीं थे, ये अपने काम पे थे और इतनी सिचुएशन चेंज हो रही थी एवरी सेकंड के समझ नहीं आ रही थी हमें बिल्कुल कि हम क्या करें.
I was just leaving the mosque. I'd left the mosque and I just checked my phone and my wife's message was there that come quickly, I'm bleeding heavily. So rushed back home, went to the hospital. The heartbeat was fine, but then slowly it started to drop. And I've got the reports which I'll be showing later on, but the heartbeat, you can tell it was dropping bit by bit, and then it just finished. Doctors and nurses, consultants rushed in, and one of the consultants, he said to me that look, we have to do a C-section right now, emergency cesarean. I said okay, you do what you need to do. And then I looked up at the doctors and I said, if you have to make a decision, save her life. And we were there and we were just praying. And I remember there's a hadith of the Holy Prophet ﷺ where he said that when a believer raises his hands to pray to me, I feel embarrassed to let him go without answering his prayers. So I remember I was for quite a few minutes, just had my hands up and just prayed. After praying, I remember I called the private secretary office, those who were close to Huzur as well, and I just requested prayers that the heartbeat has stopped. After 20-30 minutes or so, 2 doctors came in and then they said that look, your child, he's having a few blood transfusions. And they didn't go into details about what's happening, but that he just needs blood transfusion. So when I spoke to the doctors, this was before I had seen my child, and the doctor said look, there was little or no cry when he was born. Usually babies make a sound. So there was a slight sound which he made, but after that he was quite pale, he was quite floppy, and he was pale white, like the clothes I'm wearing, pale white. He needed CPR as well.
15 से ज़्यादा उसको मैंने खुद काउंट थे 13 या 15 उसको ट्यूब्स लगी हुई थी.
So if you were to look at this from the doctor's perspective, they reported and noted down everything. I've got his report here actually. It goes into the seconds of his life, so every single minute, every single second, where anything was happening at the time, they've noted it down and scribed it. If you look at right in the beginning, 30 seconds, it was noted the baby cried at birth, but was pale and floppy. 4 minutes and 20 seconds, no heart rate. 5 minutes and 40 seconds into his life, baby noted to be gasping. 14 minutes, 45 seconds into his life, no heart rate detected. At 20 minutes into his life and 50 seconds, his heart rate went up to 120 and the baby noted to be pinking up, so his heart started pumping blood again. I remember when I went through this report the first time, I had tears coming out because just gasping, the word gasping, imagine your child who you love and you cherish and you adore and who you do everything for, not being able to breathe. It was, and I'd only, when I read this for the first time, it was quite emotional. After some time, I went down and there were a number of doctors in the neonatal room. I didn't know which child was mine. On one child, there was like 7, 8 doctors. And that's when the doctor said that this is your child. So I went inside and he was quite pale, still quite pale and patchy. They said, look, because he lost his blood, his heart wasn't beating, he needed CPR for 20 minutes. That means that there's a very high risk of brain damage, lung damage, liver damage and kidney damage. So this, when they told me this, I was completely, lost for words. That when everything had been going so smoothly, it's completely flipped. And the whole weight of the world has just been placed on me. And I was like, where do I go? What do I do? How do I get out of this? In this period, I went up and I told my wife that you should come and see him. We'll just have a look and see him now.
देखा था पहली दफ़ा व्हीलचेयर पे लेके गए थे और वहाँ पे फिर जाके डॉक्टर ने सारा कुछ बताया था कि क्या हुआ है, क्या क्या मसले हुए हैं. लेकिन तब भी बस मसले तो मैं सुन रही थी कि क्या क्या मुश्किलात हैं, क्या है, लेकिन मेरे ज़हन में पता नहीं अल्लाह ताला की तरफ से एक सुकून था कि थोड़ी देर के लिए अगर थोड़ी सी मुश्किल आई है लेकिन फिर ठीक हो जाएगा.
He wasn't moving and his body was quite floppy.
लेकिन इसके दौरान भी बहुत दुआएं की. रात को पूरी रात जाके आईसीयू में उसके सराहने बैठ के दुआएं करते थे और मैं हमेशा उसके कान में ये कहती थी कि आप वक्फिनों के बच्चे हो, हजूर की दुआओं से आए हो, आप बिल्कुल ठीक हो जाओगे.
So when I showed my wife my son, we took her back upstairs. I came back and I spent some time with the doctors and they said, look, this is a very difficult situation. The quality of life is looking extremely poor. So in the next few days you're going to have to make a decision whether you want to continue his life or not. These words, it really shakes you. That weight, that burden which you feel, that, and you just picture, will my life be like this now, where I'll have a child whose quality of life will be extremely poor.
जो अल्लाह ताला पे पूरा अगर आप यकीन रखो तो अल्लाह ताला आपकी यकीन पे पूरा उतरता है. अगर ज़रा सा भी शक करें या कुछ तो वो चीज़ नहीं रहती, वो पूरा ईमान नहीं रहता. तो इसलिए आखिर तक मेरा पूरा यकीन था कि नहीं, ठीक हो जाएगा, बिल्कुल ठीक हो जाएगा.
हमने तो अपनी ज़िंदगी में दुआ के बड़े देखे हैं, मोज़े देखे हैं, लेकिन ये वाला ऐसा है कि शायद ये बच्चों को अल्लाह ताला ने कुछ दिखाना था कि जैसे कोई चीज़ करीब आते आते बिल्कुल पास आके वो हाथों से चिने. तो ये इस तरह की कुछ कंडीशन थी उस वक्त.
I remember I spoke to Abid Khan Sahab, who's the press secretary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, and this was quite late at night, and I called him and I said, look, Abid Sahab, this is the situation, and they're saying that we have to make a decision whether we want to continue his life.
He must have been 11 or 12 at night. He sent me a message, or he called me, and he mentioned that his wife had just delivered a child, but the child was in a very, very critical condition. At that point, at midnight, he said that the doctors are pressuring me for an answer. So I remember saying to him that whatever you do, don't give them an answer until you've sought the guidance of Hazur. And obviously it was so late at night, But he asked me, he said, is there any chance that you can get a message to Hazur? And so I said, I will certainly send a message requesting prayers. Then as soon as it's possible, then obviously you should get the guidance directly from Hazur.
The greatest importance at that time for me was Hazur should know. And if there's any way out, it's with Hazur's prayers.
I sent a message to Hazur, and Hazur prayed for the recovery of that child instantly, even though it was so late at night. Everything he'd been telling me from the doctors, and we've got some doctors in our family, and I'd asked them as well, and they were saying that this sounds like it's an impossible situation. But Hazur said to keep hope, and inshallah everything will be okay. And so the doctors continued to treat him.
When they told me actually that he's got brain damage, lung damage, liver damage, kidney damage, I started smiling. And people might be thinking, why is he smiling? He's just been told that this has happened to him. And then I remember the doctor was actually looking at me, and I started smiling. And I remembered that Hazur has named him Ash'ar. And Ash'ar means in Arabic the most perceptive, someone who's extremely intelligent. So I felt at that time that no, it's not possible that he can have brain damage. Hazur's given him a name, this name for a reason. So the doctor said, okay, we're going to have to transfer him to the hospital, like I mentioned, a more advanced hospital. But they said that, look, you should come and meet him one more time, because his condition is quite frail and difficult, that if anything happens on the journey, we don't know whether he'll be able to survive. I went to him, and he was in the incubator at that time, and I said, Assalamu alaikum. And I said it to him like that. And immediately, his right arm and his right leg shot up. And then that gave me a warmth in my heart, that I felt that with Hazur's prayers, inshallah it should be okay.
सिर्फ खुदा ताला का फजल है उस वक्त कि 20 मिनट तक आप सोचें कि दिल ना चले, 20 मिनट तक उन्होंने CPR दिया. फिर वो तो अल्लाह का बस शुक्र है कि दुआ मैं ये करती थी कि अल्लाह मियाँ मेरे बच्चे की जो खुशी है ये सलामत रहे.
My mum said, look, we find difficulties in life, we go through difficulties, we face difficulties in life. But whilst going through these difficulties, if we take our time and give our time to Allah, whilst we're having the difficulty, we still give our time to Allah and fulfill our duties to Allah, then Allah will look after us. So she said, look, continue your duties as a missionary. She said, go to the mosque. I went to Fazl Mosque for Isha prayers, and I asked the security guards, please can I see Hazur? So when Hazur leaves Fazl Mosque, his office, his residence, and he walks down towards Fazl Mosque, I stood there on the side, and Hazur looked at me, he came out and he saw me, and I said Salam, and I said, Hazur, this is the situation. And Hazur said, Allah Ta'ala Rahim Farmai, that may Allah show mercy on him. So after that, there was a lot of relief which came to me, that Hazur knows, and you could see the worry, because Hazur, when I was talking to Hazur, he slowed down. He slowed down, he was taking slow steps, and he was just listening to everything. Over the next few days again, we would see that his recovery was solely through the prayers of Khalifatul Masih.
With Hazur's prayers, Tahir, Khalid's son, slowly gained strength.
Every single day we would see slight improvements. And I felt and I saw that when I was giving time to the Jamaat, asking Hazur for prayers and focusing on continuing and keeping that faith with God, miraculously he would recover.
7 दिन के बाद वेंटिलेटर से उतारा था, और उसके बाद फिर अल्लाह ताला ने इस तरह मौजज़ाना दिन पे दिन बेहतरी दी, और 9वें दिन उसको पहली दफ़ा हमने वहाँ पे हॉस्पिटल में ही मैंने नहलाया था.
And on the 13th day, on New Year's Eve, we were able to come home. And after 6 months or so, they said his recovery has been miraculous, and his development is faster than children his age.
हर अपॉइंटमेंट पे जाके डॉक्टर कहते थे कि इसकी एज के लिहाज से ये बिल्कुल अपने सही जा रहा है और हर काम कर रहा है.
It was only through the prayers of Khalifatul Masih and the Jamaat that Allah had blessed my child.
जब उसको रिकवरी वार्ड में शिफ्ट किया था, आईसीयू से न्यूनेटल वार्ड से रिकवरी वार्ड में जब शिफ्ट किया था, तो वहाँ पे जो नर्सें थी जिन्होंने उसकी पहली हालत देखी थी, तो वो कहती थी कि ये बिल्कुल मौजज़ा है. वो पहचानती नहीं थी कि ये वही बच्चा है. हमने कभी ऐसा इतना बड़ा मौजज़ा नहीं देखा, इतनी ज़्यादा रिकवरी इतने थोड़े दिनों के अंदर.
और बस एक मौजज़ा ही था जब उसको जाके देखा है कि अल्लाह ताला इसको इतना प्यारा बच्चा है, इसको सेहत दे.
Alhamdulillah, by the grace of Allah, Ashar Ahmed is now 3 years old, and we've also been blessed with another child. Hazur Anwar Aidar Talib bin Aziz has named him Walid Ahmed Khalid, and he's 4 months old.
I consider it a miracle of the prayers of Khilafat, that where all the doctors are of the opinion and all the medical professionals that something is not possible, that is where the prayers of the Khalifa worked, show us who are believers in the truth of the promised Messiah that there is always some hope.
We had that faith that Hazur's prayers can change everything, and everything about him is a reminder that he is a living sign of the existence of God.